My name is Natalie Brooks, and tonight the city below my Manhattan apartment flickers like a field of restless fireflies. From the 32nd floor, I can almost believe the world is quiet, orderly almost. I smooth the sleeve of my silk ivory blouse, the fabric cool against my skin, and sip coffee gone lukewarm hours ago. My phone buzzes again on the glass table. Same notification. Evelyn Harper, engaged to Michael Brooks. My brother's fiancé. The words glow like neon on the screen, taunting me. A faint laugh escapes before I can stop it. Dry, humorless. Lonely cash machine. That's what they called me. I still remember the exact cadence of my mother's whisper, the conspiratorial giggle from Michael. My heart had thudded so loud that night, I thought they'd hear me standing just outside the kitchen door. For years I carried that name like an invisible bruise while quietly paying the credit card bills that kept Michael's courtship of Evelyn alive. Flowers, last-minute plane tickets, a ring he couldn't afford. Each charge another piece of me, signed away without a thank you. I never corrected them, never explained. And now, staring at the glossy engagement photo, her diamond flashing like a star, my phone buzzes again. A message from Evelyn. Natalie, we'd love to celebrate with you. Can we visit this weekend? The bruise inside me pulses awake. This weekend, they'll discover what I've built while they weren't looking. 7 years earlier, I was 23 and broke enough to count the coins at the bottom of my tote bag for subway fare. The February wind sliced through my thrift store coat as I hurried from the late shift at a Brooklyn diner to the one-bedroom I shared with a roommate who mostly communicated through post-it notes. Michael, my golden boy older brother, was the kind of man people wanted to root for, grinning, charming, effortlessly magnetic. I wanted to root for him too. So when he called that night, voice slick with panic, I didn't hesitate. Nat, I'm in a bind. Evelyn's birthday dinner, he swallowed. I reserved this rooftop place. My card, it got declined. Could you, just this once, cover it? I'll pay you back Friday. Friday came and went. So did the next. It started small, a dinner bill here, a surprise weekend in Cape Cod there. By spring, the balances he left in my name could have funded my own dream, a graduate program in journalism I'd been too timid to apply to. I worked double shifts, eyelids heavy as wet laundry. My knuckles cracked from scrubbing coffee pots. And still, whenever Michael's texts lit up my phone, I answered. Until one night, coming home early from a canceled shift, I paused outside my parents' kitchen door. The smell of tomato sauce and basil wafted through the half-open frame. She'll do it, my mother said, her voice low, almost amused. Natalie always does. She's like our lonely cash machine. A laugh, Michael's.
Yeah.
As long as she stays single, I guess she needs to feel useful. For a moment, every sound blurred. The simmering sauce, the ticking clock, my own pulse. The words sliced through me, small and precise, like paper cuts that kept bleeding. I backed away before the floorboards betrayed me. Out in the cold night air, the city noises swarmed, sirens, distant music, a drunk man singing off-key. My phone vibrated. Another request from Michael. Need help with the ring. Big one. Promise I'll pay you back. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice rose, the kind that doesn't shout, but settles like a seed. They will not define you. The next morning, I slipped my grandmother's silver locket around my neck. She'd given it to me when I turned 18, whispering, "Strength isn't loud, Natalie. It's steady." That day, I walked into the diner and filled out an application for a junior copywriter internship I'd seen taped to the community board. It wasn't escape yet, but it was a beginning. The copywriting internship barely paid subway fare, but it fed something far hungrier than my wallet. I traded coffee-stained aprons for cramped cubicles and the sweet ache of words. By day, I crafted catchy taglines for boutique beauty brands. By night, I devoured marketing textbooks from the public library, highlighters squeaking across borrowed pages. There were nights I cried on the subway, mascara streaking like charcoal, wondering if I'd made a colossal mistake. My roommate moved out, leaving behind a single chipped mug and an overdue electric bill. I learned to stretch peanut butter and discount bagels into dinner and still save $20 a week. Enter Marjorie Lang, the agency's creative director, a woman whose silver-streaked bob and crimson lipstick announced she had no time for mediocrity. One evening, after I'd stayed late polishing a campaign pitch long after the others fled, she found me hunched over my keyboard. "You work like someone who knows what she wants," she said, sliding her tortoiseshell glasses down her nose. I almost told her I wasn't sure what I wanted, only that I needed to be more than my family's silent bankroll. Instead, I said, "I want to be good." Marjorie's smile was small but approving.
Good is easy.
Be exceptional. Start here. She became my quiet champion. Every brutal edit, every late-night brainstorming session sharpened me. Within 2 years, I was a full-time copywriter. 3 years after that, a senior strategist. Meanwhile, Michael's texts arrived like clockwork. Sometimes a casual, "Hey Nat, can you spot me till next week?" Other times just a screenshot of a bill. I replied politely, then less often than not at all. I shared nothing of my promotions or the raise that finally covered more than rent. My social media showed only sunset photos and vague captions. When my parents asked about work, I offered a careful smile. Busy but good. Quietly, I built something bigger. Marjorie introduced me to a venture capitalist friend looking for fresh minds to launch a boutique agency. I spent sleepless weekends writing proposals, chasing clients, and fighting down the old fear that I was still the girl counting coins. At 29, I co-founded Lumina Creative, a marketing agency that, within 2 years, signed national beauty and fashion brands. By 31, I had a corner office framed by floor-to-ceiling glass and a bank account that made my landlord treat me like royalty. The silver locket never left my neck. Sometimes, in the hush of midnight after another contract closed, I'd hold it between my fingers and whisper my grandmother's words. Strength isn't loud. It's steady. I kept my success folded close like a secret letter. The world, my clients, my team, saw the confident woman. My family still pictured the lonely cash machine, too timid to live beyond their shadow. And I let them. Because one day, I knew, the reveal would be mine to choose. Saturday morning dawned like a polished coin, bright, hard-edged, and impossible to ignore. The city outside my apartment windows stretched in crisp autumn sunlight, the Hudson glittering like it had secrets of its own. I'd asked my assistant to hold all calls and instructed the doorman to send my family, directly, to the 32nd floor. My heart should have been hammering, but instead it ticked calmly, like a metronome I'd finally learned to set for myself. At 11 sharp, the elevator chimed. Michael stepped out first, a practiced grin plastered across his face. Evelyn followed, her diamond engagement ring catching the light like a wink of fate. My parents trailed behind, Mother clutching a gift bag, Father inspecting the marble floors as though he'd never seen luxury he couldn't explain away. "Natalie," Mother sang, arms open. "Look at this place. We thought we'd meet at a cafe, but you insisted we come here. My goodness, what a view." Her voice bounced off the high ceilings. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling across the oak floors and the art I'd collected from local galleries, a swirl of blues and copper that reminded me of city sunsets. I motioned toward the living room, where a low-glass table held a tray of espresso cups. "Make yourselves comfortable." Evelyn's eyes widened as she took in the sleek walnut desk in the corner, the gold-embossed Lumina Creative sign on the wall. "Natalie, you work here?" I smiled. "I own here." Michael's grin faltered. "You mean you rent this as an office?" I said, letting each word settle like a stone in still water. "This entire floor is the headquarters of my agency. I co-founded it 4 years ago. We run national campaigns for some of the brands you probably have in your bathroom cabinet." Silence throbbed. My father's gaze flicked to the enormous abstract painting behind my desk, then back to me. "You never said. You never asked," I replied gently. Michael cleared his throat, trying for bravado.
Wow.
"Nat, that's unexpected." "Unexpected." I almost laughed. That was one word for it. Evelyn's fingers traced the edge of the coffee table, her expression soft with something like admiration. This is incredible. I met her eyes, then my brother's. Do you remember when you two were dating and someone kept paying off the credit card charges? The rooftop dinners, the weekend getaways, even an engagement ring. Michael's face went pale. That was me, I said, quietly, while you called me the lonely cash machine. My mother flinched as if struck. Natalie, I overheard you. My voice was steady. Every word. And I carried it for years while I built this life. You thought I needed to feel useful. Maybe I did. But not the way you imagined. The room held its breath. The only sound was the low hum of the espresso machine. Finally, my father whispered, "We were wrong." Michael swallowed hard. Nat,
I'm sorry.
I was an idiot. Evelyn reached for my hand. I didn't know. If I had. I squeezed her fingers briefly. This isn't about blame. It's about truth. I chose silence because I needed space to become someone beyond your expectations. Now you're seeing the woman you underestimated. I stood, the sunlight catching the silver locket at my throat. Welcome to Lumina Creative. This is the real me. No one spoke, but in their stunned faces, in the mix of guilt, wonder, and something like pride, I heard the quiet click of a door closing on the past. I let the silence linger until the espresso machine clicked itself into a low hiss, like the city's heartbeat beneath us. For the first time in years, I felt no need to fill the air with explanations. Michael finally broke. Nat, I can't believe we ever said that. I was selfish. He rubbed the back of his neck, his voice suddenly small. You helped me build the life I have with Evelyn. I never even thanked you. I held his gaze. You didn't just forget to thank me, Michael. You took for granted that I'd always be there, invisible and endless, like an ATM that never runs dry. His shoulders sagged. You're right. My mother's eyes were glassy. We all were wrong.
We just assumed you were fine.
You never complained. I didn't, I agreed. But silence doesn't mean absence of pain. The locket at my throat warmed beneath my fingers, my grandmother's quiet strength pulsing there. I'm not here to punish you, I said, my voice soft but certain. But if we're going to have a relationship worth keeping, things must change. My father shifted uneasily. What kind of change? First, I began, turning to Michael, you will pay forward what you once took. Not to me, I don't need it, but to someone who reminds you of the girl I used to be, hungry, tired, and invisible. Find a young writer or designer. Mentor them. Give them the chances you were given without asking. Michael blinked, then nodded slowly. I can do that. I looked to my mother. You will stop measuring my worth or anyone's by marital status or how useful they seem. You'll celebrate effort and integrity, not just appearances. Her lips trembled. I will. I see now how deeply we hurt you. And you. I turned to my father. Will listen. Really listen. No dismissing feelings because they're uncomfortable. If we're going to move forward, you must hear me when I speak. My father swallowed, then gave a quiet, resolute nod. You have my word. I breathed in the scent of freshly pulled espresso, a sharp, grounding aroma. These are my conditions. Not for revenge. For healing. For us to begin again if you choose to. Evelyn squeezed Michael's hand. I want that. For all of us. I studied their faces, guilt and love interlaced like threads in a frayed tapestry. They weren't perfect.
Neither was I.
But for the first time, the imbalance tilted toward something that felt like respect. This, I said finally, is the only way I can let you back into my life. On terms built from honesty, not obligation. Michael reached across the table, his palm open, tentative. Then let's start here. I laid my hand over his, the silver locket cool against my skin, and felt the quiet power of choice settle around me like a second heartbeat. Autumn slid into winter like a quiet exhale. Weeks passed, and with each one I saw small, steady signs that the promises made in my office were taking root. Michael sent me a photo of a wide-eyed college intern he'd started mentoring at his firm. Reminds me of you, his text read. Ambitious. A little scared. I'm trying to be the person I wish I'd been for you. My mother's calls grew different. No more gentle probes about whether I was seeing anyone. No subtle hints about settling down. Instead, she asked about my campaigns, her voice lit with genuine curiosity. Once, she ended a call with, "I'm proud of you, Nat. Not for what you've earned, for who you are." Even my father, a man of few words, surprised me one Sunday evening with a message that simply said, "Listening. Always." These gestures weren't grand, but neither is healing. My grandmother's words came back to me. Strength isn't loud. It's steady. One snow-dusted night, I stood at my office window, the city lights glittering like scattered diamonds on black velvet. The silver locket lay warm against my collarbone. I thought of the girl I'd been, the tired waitress, the silent financier of someone else's romance, the sister once branded a lonely cash machine. She hadn't vanished. She had grown. I realized the name they once whispered had lost its sting. I was no machine, no silent ledger of sacrifice. I was a woman who had chosen her own worth, who had built something beautiful not from bitterness, but from quiet resolve. Behind me, the espresso machine gave its familiar low hiss, a steady heartbeat in the hush. I traced the locket with my thumb and felt a calm I hadn't known I was waiting for. I was never lonely, I whispered to the city beyond the glass. Just becoming. And in that stillness, strong, independent, and utterly my own, I smiled, knowing that this was the life I had written for myself.